Good day, everybody. Welcome to our YouTube channel, Go and Edit. There's a lot happening in our tiny little state of Goa which the media isn't reporting like they should. We, the core team of this YouTube channel, Go and Edit, understand the ever growing need for fair and objective reporting. And during this time of uncertainty, and especially the times that will follow soon, this YouTube channel is our brainchild to bring to you news and news features that matter a lot to Goa and Goans. Here we aim to cover everything from social, economic, cultural, and everyday life conversations in the form of panel discussions, interviews, debates, and feature stories. We are in no competition, let me remind you, but we hope to be different. For us, our ethos are extremely crucial, and these include fair and objective reporting, unbiased coverage, giving importance to important topics and stories of Goa. We aim to create dialogue to get answers and solutions to various problems that plague Goa, to facilitate about a positive change, be the voice of the voiceless, work for a better tomorrow. The core members in our team include Ramandeep Kaur, Vanita Gomes, Archie Fernandez, and Cyrus Fernandez. All of our co-members have been either former journalists or have worked with media establishments and know the nuances of the way media functions in the state. While some of us continue our full-time jobs, two of our members, Vanita Gomes and Cyrus Fernandez, are still pursuing further studies. But this brainchild has been put together so that every week we get to upload new content in various formats. Today's panel discussion is called Headline Worthy, and this will be one of our fixed formats on the YouTube channel. And every Sunday at 8 p.m. on our channel, we will be uploading new content. And you can also follow us on our social media accounts on Instagram as well as Facebook to know what are the topics that we are going to be dealing with. We look forward to suggestions. We look forward to your feedback. We look forward to a lot of help from Goans to build this channel and take it to a new level, because this is an initiative that has no monetary gains or benefits involved. It is solely for the cause of Goans, and because all of us in this group believe that media and information are something that is inevitable, and since we have the expertise and since we are a group, we believe we can do at least this much for Goa and Goans. So without wasting much time, let's dive into today's discussion on Headline Worthy. And today's topic is about the Save Mole campaign. This Save Mole campaign has been gaining a lot of momentum, and what's been different in this social activism, in these protests, is that we see a lot of youth coming forward, people of all walks of life coming forward, but we see youth right in the front. Therefore, on today's discussion, we're going to be talking about how the youth, who we always believed are the future of tomorrow, are our present, and they believe that their campaign can bring about a positive change and reverse the projects that have been planned by the government. So let me quickly introduce our guests for today and take forward this conversation. We have a great panel today of three guests, and let us start with the man on the show today, the only man among three women. He's Father Bolmax, an environmentalist who has a PhD in botany, the current parish priest of St. Francis Xavier's Church, Chikali, who has been fighting relentlessly to save Mole. I've known Father Bolmax personally for quite a few years, and we worked on quite a few environmental stories, religious stories, and the other. And we move to our second guest, Advocate Shrija Chakraborty. Thank you so much for joining us. An environmental lawyer. She's also the co-founder of Living Environment Advocacy Foundation. She represents civil society organizations, environmentalists, tribals, farmers, and activists to protect and conserve the environment through innovative use of environmental legislation in the country. Fascinating work there. And our third panelist, my fellow villager, I would like to say, Gabriela de Cruz, who is a marine conservationist with over 10 years experience in the field. She has a master's degree in biodiversity conservation and management from the University of Oxford, and is currently working in the sustainable seaweed farming space in India. All three panelists are actively involved in our Save Mole campaign, and they've been doing their bit in their own sphere. So coming to you, Father Bolmax, from walk for peace rally to silent protest. You've been part of this all. So, what exactly got you to get out there on the road, on the railway tracks? Keep your cassock in the church, and fight for Goa and Mole.
Well, Danushka, first of all, I would like to congratulate you and your team for this initiative to begin this
Thank you so much, Fatih.
channel. Especially when you say unbiased news, yes, that is what we need today. Yeah, to answer your question, first of all, I say proudly that I am a Goan, and all the Goan biodiversity belongs to me. And any damage to this biodiversity, of course, I will never tolerate and I cannot take it. And yes, from the Peace Padyatra on 2nd October till now, I would say why I am here is I feel that we are losing so much for nothing. And I'm not going to allow, personally, I'm not going to allow that to happen. And that is why after requesting through the letters, after requesting through the phone calls, or even the memorandums that we said, since the answers were not positive and they were still heading towards the destruction, that is the time when we felt that now coming on the road is the only way, that we need to come and shout out and make it reach to everyone so that our voices are heard. So in simple way, I can say we are on the road, or I am on the road, because the simple ways that we have engaged to tell the government and to tell the all those who are proponents of these projects, because they are not listening, that is why we are on the road today, I can say.
Thank you so much. I think we need religious leaders like you who can bring the youth forward, not just to the church but also to the roads, and to take care of the land. And I think that's the most important at present. And Gabriela, since you're a youth, and Youth Are the Now is something that each and every youngster is chanting in Goa, how important is it for the youth to be vocal about their stand on these projects? I don't think the youth were as vocal during my days in college or when I just passed out. But I'm so happy to see youngsters come out. Not that I'm really old, but can you tell us a bit about this?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that young people in Goa have always valued living in Goa. I think we all value the fact that we have open spaces, we have clean air, we have fresh water, we have access to the ocean, to forests. And it's also one of the biggest reasons why Goa is such a tourism hub, is because of our natural biodiversity. And so the Mole campaign is just a certain group of people that have decided to step forward to make sure that Goa's biodiversity is conserved. And this has led a lot of other young people to also come forward, because they see that if projects of this nature are supposed to be passed, it should be done with the consent of the young people, because we as young people have a much more stake in our future than people who are older than us. We are going to be in Goa, living here much longer, and these policy decisions affect us much more, given that we are living in a time of climate change, of pandemics, of economic instability. So all of these decisions will affect us greatly, and that's why we are just standing up to make sure that our voices are heard and our ecology is conserved for our benefit.
Absolutely, Gabriela. And while we are doing all of this, I think it's important to bear in mind the legality of the issue, to understand the legal implications, because we saw what happened on 19 December, which didn't go well down with not just youngsters, but with the entire nation and going to the diaspora, where youngsters were just kind of pushed into the police buses and were just taken around clueless. And that's why we have with us Advocate Shrija, and who is helping us fight the legal way. So can you tell us a little bit about, the legal series that you have on social media, and how are these legal series kind of empowering the youth to fight such environmental battles or social battles in the right manner?
See, first of all, what I tried to address is the lack of literature on environment law and policy and decision making. Like, even as a young environment lawyer, when I started and I had a new question of law to research on, it was very limited. So when it came to real life situations where the villagers are not consulted before a forest clearance is just granted, which impacts them, right? So you just understand the lack of knowledge and the lack of understanding of these laws. There were statements made by the political parties, by the people in power, that it's a central government project and the state really doesn't have anything to say. Now, that was a big myth that needed to be bursted, right? Like, a lot of people didn't understand that the whole clearance giving process and the initiation process starts at the state. The center gets engaged only when the state has approved it through various levels already. So just simply saying that it's a central government project and we have nothing to say, now that's the policy of the central government to throw projects at the state. Now it's the state who has to take decisions based on their own state's requirement, what the people has to say, and all other factors. Just simply saying that we abide by the policy decision of the central government, then that's no use. There is no application of mine then. So these were the things that I felt that needs addressing. And also there was a problem that not many people were aware, and it's impossible to be aware because the environmental laws are being diluted every day. Like it's really difficult. Like today you might have a law which tells you that there is an eco-sensitive zone, and if any project has to come, it also requires forest clearance and wildlife clearance. Tomorrow they will change it by saying, oh, this project does not require environment clearance, so it doesn't also require wildlife clearance. So there are 3 clearances at play under the Environment Protection Act, Forest Conservation Act, and Wildlife Protection Act. Now, a lot of people don't understand that these are 3 different environment clearances. So there are 3 different acts. Initially explaining people that and telling them that at what stage can they actually intervene and write letters, and what substance should that have, and making a more meaningful conversation and bargaining, I would like put it like that.
Okay, and how easy was it for you to kind of make Goans understand, or work with Father Balmax and Gabriella and people around Goa to kind of get this into their heads that there's a lot of laws that are there in our law books, in our acts, that are being flouted by the ones who kind of are supposed to uphold them?
So I would say that Goans are anyway very enlightened legal citizens. They are well aware of the law. So you must be knowing that in NGT Pune, the National Green Tribunal Pune, the maximum number of cases till date have been filed by the state of Goa and Goans. So there is already a need, or there is already an existing, environmental awareness. But then, things just keep happening. Like there was CRZ issues, now there is a forest issue, there is a wildlife issue. So people of Goa are also understanding, but that mentality and audience is already there in Goa. Like in general, statistics shows that compared to the other neighboring state, people of Goa care for their environment more than the neighboring state. So that itself is a figure to be talked about and seen, that this recent uprising of environmentalism, sorry, it's not recent uprising, it was always there, but it was pocketed into some different issues.
Yeah.
But then now when all of these 3 projects have come at once, and it affects not only the forest, it's no longer the liberty, you is still seen as something that the comfortable people would think of. What about clean air, clean water? So these 3 projects will deny you all of that. And in the end, your right to life. So, people have understood that, and hence so many people are taking to the streets I don't think to protest, to express themselves, that we need to be heard. And protesting word is very, very limited. It should not be used. It is not giving proper justification to the initiatives of various people that are involved over here.
Okay. Father Balmax, you've been going through so much, and you've been doing so much for the state of Goa. And like Gabriella said before we went on air, she and a lot of Goans are extremely grateful to you for your leadership in saving Mole. What are the difficulties and hardships you've been facing with the government, trying to fight using the legal expertise or going through the legal way? How deterred do you get? How do you get bogged down by people or the system while fighting for your land?
Okay, first of all, I'll say system is very bad. And as Srija has said, there are laws, but the laws are not followed. And if these laws are followed and if these laws are understood, then most of these problems would have been solved. We would not have to go through all this that we are going. And yes, I think the youth of today cannot be deterred by anything. We already know the system.
Great.
And we are part of this system. In fact, we have chosen this system. So somewhere we are also responsible. We cannot just feign ignorance and say it is always they. At the start, we have the chance to choose what type of system we want. But whatever we do, finally we come to that same back to square one. One of the problem is the changing things with the government. Every time they have been saying different things. Those who are at the helm of affairs, CM himself, Environment Minister himself, they don't know what exactly they are talking. Today they talk one thing, tomorrow they will talk another thing. Then if the environmentalists and the experts bring something to their notice, then they will come out with white papers which are not white at all. We have seen so many white papers being brought out by the Environment Minister lately. And I have been fighting with the Environment Minister, telling him that none of the white papers is white actually. It's all black that they have been giving us, because there is no truth in that. And somewhere I feel media is responsible. And that is why I'm appreciating what you're trying to do. Because media, the mainstream media as well as the social media has been abused by this the system. For example, to show this white paper, and many of us, many of our people start believing that. Another problem is when people are told that you are not going to face the problem, and some people are quiet. It is the problem of somebody else. And today the youth who are there on the ground, and even the people who are there on the ground fighting for these issues, most of them have nothing to do with it. I personally have nothing to do with. I think Gabriela has nothing to lose at her house. Shrija has nothing to lose at her house. But there are people who are actually directly going to get affected. So one of the ways that is worked out by these politicians is telling the people that it is not going to affect you. We have taken care of you. We are going to compensate you. So with that, somewhere the movement gets deterred. But as far as I see today, that challenge in the youth that I see, nobody will be able to stop it till they get what they want. That is, they save their environment, they save their ecology for their future. And that is why I also join them in saying, youth are no more future. That's the wrong norm that has been given to us for a quite long time. Youth are the future, youth are the future. Youth are the now. And that is what the youth are saying. And I join them in saying youth are the now and the future belongs to them. And those who have already, lived our life more than them, we have already experienced this Goa in a way that these young fellows cannot, and perhaps they will not. The only thing that we tell them are the stories, but they are not going to be satisfied with the stories anymore, and that is why we stand with them. And yes, if we have to go through the system and the system breaks our bones, no problem. We will not allow it to just break the future of the youth.
Father, I think we all resonate the same term of youth are the now. And I think we all want to see the change happen in Goa where, the entire project is reversed. But do you really think that the government is not going to manipulate us Goans? Because, like you said, they have this habit of doing so with whichever party forms the government, whether you're threatened of not getting jobs or you're removed from jobs or, your life and family is at stake. What is it that will kind of prevent us from moving forward with our agitation, or what should we still do to prevent the government from not manipulating us?
Yeah, I very much agree with you when you say that government is manipulating, and we can see that right from the time. Now, I have this youth group, the Chikali Youth Farmers Club, who were the first one to go and question their MLA, and they were directly threatened by the MLA, as you have said, about the jobs. about cases being filed against them. They not be able to travel abroad. All these things were told to them. And in fact, when I heard them, I thought they will be afraid. But the positive that I got from them was they were adamant to get the answers from this particular MLA in Chikali Panchayat. And yes, they showed that we are not afraid of these type of dhamkis, but we want the answers. And as Chikali Youth Farmers Club, they are not agitators. But when they question me and when I talk to them, I always used to tell them the three things that are important in saving our environment. Because the government is not listening to us, the proponents of these projects are just going on without any, without proper EIAs being done. That's why we need the agitation. Important thing that is required is the legislation, because it is the legislators who are running our life, so to say. Although we might say that, we are into the habit of saying politics is a dirty game. No, it is not a dirty game, but it is a very important game because all these laws and these policies are made by these dirty people. And that is why we need to understand that legislation is very, very important and we are responsible for that legislation. And the third thing that is because with law, the legislators can manipulate us. But with law and with the understanding of law, as Shrija has been saying, once we understand our law, once we know our rights, then the legislators have no chance to manipulate us.
All right. Gabriela, since you are a marine conservationist, you know how fragile our ecosystem is. So while we do need projects, we need development. It has to go hand in hand with our ecosystem and it has to have the right balance. So where do you think on which counts has our government, failed us before giving a nod to these projects?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question because this is not a case of development versus environment. This is a case of bad policy versus good policy. So what Goa really needs is good policy. It needs a good energy policy that looks at renewable energy. It needs a good forest policy that conserves its existing forests. It needs a good climate change policy that looks at all of the fact that we are a coastal state and we will have to deal with sea level rise. Now are very short-term gains for certain individuals and companies that will cost Goa long-term. And when it comes to this, people in Goa need to be consulted. So if you are going to pass projects, firstly, within the lockdown, without consultation from local people, without due process, and just speed it through because you think, everyone is in the middle of a pandemic, no one's going to be watching. I mean, that is firstly quite... It's quite shady, and I don't know why you would do that if you felt these projects were actually beneficial. And if you look at the way the projects have been passed, it's really without due process at all. And this should be done when it comes to projects of public importance. So I think the government has failed in many ways in helping people to understand why these projects are beneficial. Because if you actually look at them, they're just short-term benefits to certain companies. There's no point in any kind of afforestation. You're not going to bring it back to the biological diversity it was at. And you're also disrespecting the fact that this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It shows that the Western Ghats is one of the most resilient ecosystems to climate change. So we are not conserving what we have. We have something that's so important and our policy should reflect this. So yes, of course, we need development. But at what cost and who does this really benefit? I think the people of Goa really deserve to know this.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. And while Goa and Goans are completely at loggerheads with the government, and we are sure we do not want Save Mole. We don't want the Mole project to go on. The government is keen on going ahead with these projects, and what is the way forward? What do we do?
See, first thing is that we should understand that the world right now doesn't need development. It needs sustainable development. A development of an existing highway, double lane an existing railway line, and then create a new linear intrusion into the forest, which practically is not benefiting any of the wildlife conservation policy, scheme, forest policy, all of that. Because you have to, because where the Dudh Sagar is, there is no other way. then you will do large scale deforestation, which is again a 16th century concept. For a project, I won't say development, for something that you want to do at the cost of anything in the name of development in 21st century. How is it development? How is it not a counter development? Can this development sustain itself in the 20 years? No, because the projections, if I go by the government's figure, the projections that they say is required for electricity today is not true for the next 20 years. It cannot be, right? Even if the papers, they cannot justify the data, right? So it is not development per se. Any development, the population of India today has to be sustainable, because it is Paris Summit. Indian government, along with other United Nations countries, have committed that we will do such and such things so that the world temperature can be restricted to increase by 2 degrees centigrade. Now, it's not only a word of the mouth. There are ways. So, sustainable development goals. Now, if you open the 17 sustainable development goals, the crux of all those goals are, first is, in any environmental decision making, first thing that we will do is public participation. People should be given the utmost cross check and recheck that whether this project will serve the purpose of today and how long will it keep serving. So when we come back to the Molem discussion, I want to see a white paper where so much of thought and thinking has gone. We are yet to find any. It's very, very ad hoc, because the National Board for Wildlife gives clearance to the transmission line project, saying that the mitigation measures has to be followed as per the Chief Wildlife Warden. Now, if you open the Chief Wildlife Warden's mitigation measures, it's like very simple. Keep water retention holes for the animals in the dry season, as if you're taking away their land. You're going to erect your electrical those transmission posts and just keep a little bit of water for the poor animal. Like, you're telling me in 21st century India, that's the best research that we have for a linear infrastructure project? So where is the science? Where is the decision making? The discussion of whether the project is right or wrong, is a distant thing when you see that the whole step-by-step articulation of the project is illegal, or it just doesn't meet with all this so-called international conventions, commitments. And I would have thought that, the policymakers are not very much, in par, or they don't know about such initiatives or what sustainable development goals is. Now, when you open these policy documents, you will see and compare them with the social media accounts of the Forest Department, of the Ministry of Environment. Everywhere they have PR. They are talking with some foreigners on this day to discuss this goal, to discuss that goal. Then you implement that to your trickle down policy as well, right? Otherwise, why are we talking? Otherwise, stop wasting taxpayers' money for such initiatives where 30 of your bureaucrats go to countries like Paris and then talk and then come back to do what? Then stop doing that. You can't have both ways.
Thank you so much, Advocate Shrija. I think you've made really valid comments, and you've pointed out, the important aspects that we need to know as citizens of the country. And while I just realized that, we can't have a half an hour discussion on Save Mole, or for that matter, on any environmental issue or a project that hampers the growth of a state, or that destroys the peace and harmony of a state, we'll have to cut short this discussion. But I'm sure we'll have to have a follow-up to this sooner or later, because this agitation is definitely not going to die out. And with Father Goldman,
I would like to take a minute, like I'm intruding, but I would like to take a minute to conclude with this, that it's not only about the environment anymore. It started with some environmental concerns, but you have to understand how your right to information has been curtailed. Like, Gabby has been filing RTIs after RTIs, not getting relevant information. And the RTI Act says that, suo moto, by their own, the government of Goa, the Forest Department, should put all documents, computerize all documents, put them on a public domain. So your right to information is curtailed, where the information is not available to you on the go by like suo moto. Then when you ask for RTI questions, you are not given responses. Secondly, the way there is complete lack of information and lack of transparency. So that is something, like, can you trust anybody who like, even in interpersonal relationships, can we trust a person like that who maintains a veil of secrecy. And if you look at judgments of the Supreme Court, it says that state administration should not be done under the veil of secrecy. Now that brings me to the second point, that when the citizens of this country are locked down due to an international pandemic, that again is a product of your bad governance, and you are curtailing my fundamental rights to do a lot of things, but you on the other hand are just conducting business as usual. And because of the pandemic, the restrictions, you are conducting major decision making over video conferencing, where we have calculated and seen that over 4 hours, giving them the benefit that they did not break for chai, coffee or anything, an average time spent on major infrastructure projects in wildlife areas was somewhere close to 7.5 and 8 minutes. Now, how can you justify that? These are facts and data. So it's much more than environment. It's about bad governance. It's about complete, taking off our rights in the guise of public health, pandemic and all. Everything else can happen during the pandemic, but then public participation cannot. So it's also curtailing our rights, our fundamental rights. And then it comes to environment. Maybe it started with environment, but now it's much more serious, where children, underage children are picked up by the police, taken for a picnic. What is it going on?
True.
Like, it can even happen about women's safety tomorrow, about child abuse tomorrow. The issue has shifted. This Molem, I think, was just a mole, and then when it grew and public attention and support grew, you can actually understand that what exactly is wrong.
Absolutely.
It's not only about Molem. If we don't address this now, it will be much bigger, and it's becoming much bigger over the years and years. Molem is just the one that you can see right now. The evil is much more.
I'm sure 2021 will see a lot more youth and youngsters fight for their land. But while you made your closing comment, Advocate Shrija, I request Gabriela to quickly conclude with a statement before we move to Father Bolmax, because I think we're running out of time and we need to have a follow-up on this issue once again. But being the first episode of our show, we didn't know how it goes, but we are happy to say it has we've overshot in terms of time, but it's all good because it's for Mole.
So I'd just like to conclude with the fact that a lot of people feel like young people are directionless. They're just protesting. They're not sure what they're protesting about. But I'd like to say that the people that have stepped forward, like Father, like Shrija, we're all ecologists, lawyers, doctors, architects, planners, writers. There's artists. There's so many people that have taken time out from the work that they do to put a lot of energy and commitment into this, very well thought out and with a lot of science and law to back. So this movement actually aims to put all of the information available into the public so the public can make because in so many ways we have voted this government in to follow what people need and what is good for people, and we are being misled and we are being lied to, and I really don't think this is a sign of a healthy governance system. So in many ways, I think young people will now be more engaged with voting processes, with which a functioning democratic system is. And I think this is very healthy in terms of Goa. I think it's really good that young people are stepping up and exercising their right to oppose what the government is doing. And I'm really confident that this movement will continue. And like Shrija said, it's just the start of holding our government more accountable and making sure that we have a safe and a safe Goa to live in.
Thank you so much. Said made absolute sense, and I'm not sure what the government will do for us, government, but I'm pretty sure the youngsters and like-minded people will be out there to support every youngster and take care of the Goa that is left for us to take care of. And while I would have loved Father Bolmax to say something as we close this little discussion, I think there was some internet connection because of which he had to exit the meeting. But I would like to thank the three of you all for being part of our first discussion. And I think it really went off well. And we hope to facilitate many more such discussions to make the public aware of what's happening in Goa, to enlighten them, to kind of help them think and shape their opinions in the right direction. And the Goan, our YouTube channel, Goan Edit, will always be there from now, at least until we manage to save Mole for us and for all the other issues to take them up in the right manner with unbiased reportage. Thank you so much for being part of our discussion. I really think half an hour is not enough to debate and discuss about the Save Mole campaign that has been gaining momentum and that will continue to take things further on to save Mole and save Goa for Goans. I thank our three guests, our first three panelists on our first panel discussion, Father Balmax Pereira, Advocate Shrija Chakrabarti and Gabriela De Cruz. It was a pleasure having you, and I'm sure we will have many more discussions because Save Mole campaign discussion cannot be limited to half an hour. And while I ask people to subscribe to our channel and give us feedback, please do like and subscribe and follow us on all our social media accounts. Thank you so much. Stay with us and we'll be back next week.